Okay, so here I am. I've got some stuff I'm going to cook up here. I'm going to throw some olive oil in my pan that I've got heating up over here, because I need to cook some onions and some carrots in there. Get them all started. I'm going to make some stewed pork in the slow cooker. Okay, so what I do with the carrots, basically, is I just pull them out here like this, and they're all clean. So I cut the ends off like that, and then I just make some smaller pieces out of them like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to take these right as I cut them and throw them right into the pan over here. Okay, so now usually I just do it on a little bigger scale like this. Okay, and I cut like this. I go along, and the ones that are rolling away, I'm just going to throw those straight into the pan like that. Okay? Now, these ones here, I just need to take the ends off. Okay, so for this dish, this is how I prepare my onions. Okay? Of course, I sharpen my knife ahead of time, because most people cry when they cut their onions up, and that's simply because your knife isn't sharp. And if your knife isn't sharp, then all you're doing is you're mashing the onion. Okay? And if you're just mashing the onion, that releases the juices of the onion and starts its, the oils or whatever in it, and it makes your tears work. Okay? So this is how I slice my onions real quick. Okay? Just like this. Now, I'm not very technical about any of this, so I like big pieces of onion, so that's all I get with that. One down, and then the next. Okay, and there's no tears happening here because my knife is super sharp, and it's cutting through there just like butter, see? Okay. Over here now I've got all the carrots and the onions in there, so I'm just going to take a little bit of sea salt. Okay, I know it's going to look like a lot, but I'm really not using that much. Just give it a quick sprinkle in there, and then I just toss it around a little bit here. So, like a little bit of salt is okay for you, especially if it's something good like sea salt. Okay, but you don't want to use a lot anyways. Okay, that's definitely not good for you. Raises your blood pressure and stuff, you know, all that bad stuff. So now I've got all this here frying. It's frying up in some maybe 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and so there's my onions and my carrots, and they're going strong in there. And I got some garlic powder here. I'm going to give this quite a. That's always too slow for Big Daddy there. Look at that. So I take that off. I like lots of garlic, and I'm going to use this kind of garlic. It's just garlic powder, not garlic salt, okay, because we're not adding too much salt in here at all. Okay, I do use a little bit of seasoning salts, though, because, you know, there's so many different things in there other than salt. There's some seasonings, but, again, I just use a little bit, okay? Now I'm going to take some ground chili powders, okay, and put some ground chili powder in there like that. Okay, this is just the fast version of how I'm going to fry my stuff up here. Okay, so then I'm going to take some Italian seasoning. Okay, so this is just a blend of so many different things, and I believe there's probably garlic in there too. One of my favorite things to use when I cook is some sage. It's so good for you too. And so there's some sage. Now, to keep this cooking up real good here. Okay. Now, see, it's a little dry in the pan, so I always like to have something to use that I can make it so it's not so dry. And I like Worcestershire sauce. It goes so good with any kind of meat, vegetables. Got to have some Frank's Red Hot sauce. Not enough to burn your lips off, you know, but it's got to give you some flavor. Okay? And of course, we're going to use some soya sauce. Okay? So I'm going to put a little bit of that in there too. Well, maybe a little bit more than a little. And you got to remember that this stuff is high in salt. Okay? And so now that's all in there. Let's just stir it up and keep cooking it, and we're going to cook this here for a few more minutes now until the more or less until the onions are clear. We're not going to try and cook this so that the carrots are fully cooked, because the carrots are going to cook a lot longer here in the slow cooker. Okay, so we got the crock pot going. So now, of course, I always like to keep my cutting board nice and clean, so I use my disinfectant wipes quite often here. Okay, I'm going to just reach over here and give this a quick stir, because you can't forget about what you got going in the pan no matter what you're doing. Okay, you can always stop what you're doing and come back to it. Now here's my little thing with my gravy, okay? I use a jar. In this case I'm using an old spaghetti sauce jar, okay? And I take my fork, and I take my cornstarch, okay? And I take my fork, and I take a heaping spoon or forkful, and I just sit it right inside there. I'm going to do this 4 times. So 4 heaping forks full of cornstarch, okay? Okay, there we go. Give this a quick stir again. Now my onions in this pan with the carrots are starting to take on a little bit of shape. Okay, I've got some beef bouillon here, okay? What I'm going to do, I'm going to be using this whole thing, okay? So I'm going to poke it open like that. Now, it never flows right, so what you got to do is you got to make an air hole over here like this, okay? So I just use my knife. You can use a fork or whatever, make an air hole. So now I can just pour a little bit in there, because I want a little bit of fluid going around in my carrots and stuff again here. I know you probably can't see that, but now you can see that my onions are starting to get clear, and I put a little bit of fluid in there, okay? So I'm going to put that right back on the burner. Now, I got some all-purpose flour here, okay? So take the same fork, because all that was cornstarch. There's nothing really on the fork. You're going to stick that in here, and you're going to do this 4 times. And you're going to have 4 heaping forkfuls of flour, okay? So this is going to be basically what makes my gravy. Now, so what you got to do is you turn on the cold tap here for a moment, and you get that cold tap nice, and make sure that water's nice and cold. And then you're going to put this bottle not all the way full. Now you see it's about half full, okay, with water. Let me turn the tap off here. Okay, put the lid on nice and tight. So now, all you have to do is you shake this up, and you just shake it up until the bottom. You can see on the bottom, there's no more. Okay, so that's going to be your slurry to make your gravy when we get there. Okay. So then I'm just going to pull the lid off my crock pot, which I've already heated up. And I started heating it up. I pulled this out at first, and I put hot water in it, soaked it with hot water, hot tap water for a minute from the tap, right? Okay, of course hot tap water comes from the tap, Neil. So anyways, now I'm just going to put the onions and carrots in the bottom of my crock pot here, okay? Yep. Whoops, 1 stray onion, there we go. Throw the lid back on there. Look here, because I got some pork sirloin chopped boneless here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pork sirloin chopped boneless here. I'm going to put a little bit of, we'll put a little bit of juice in the bottom here, because I got some stuff going on in here, like that. That's all going to make for good gravy. We just got to keep this moist. So let's put a little bit more juice in the bottom there. Rip this here open real quick. Okay, now this is just going to take a moment here, and what we're going to do is we're going to throw some garlic powder on top. Okay, and well, of course we're going to use some of my ground sage, and just a little bit of ground sage goes on there just to make it go around. I like to put some Worcestershire sauce, and then I rub that in just like that. Okay, and we got to have some salt and pepper. So some pepper, okay, and then we got my sea salt over here. I'll pull that up, and I'll just give this a tiny little sprinkle. Okay, so what's going to happen now is we're just going to throw these right upside down inside my frying pan like this. Okay, and we just want to brown these a little bit on each side. Okay, just real quickly, and then they're going to go into the crock pot with the vegetables that I just put in there, okay? So I'm going to just take and and add a little bit of pepper on this side, and some seasoning salt, or I mean some garlic powder, and again, not garlic salt. A lot of people mistake that for garlic salt, but I use garlic powder because I don't want too much going in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I've already got some pieces into the slow cooker, so I'm going to put some of these new pieces here into the slow cooker along with the other pieces, just like that, and I just toss them in kind of willy-nilly random. Okay, and so I've got all my vegetables are on the bottom. Okay, so there's all my meat. All my meat is now in the slow cooker, ready to cook for the next little, you know, it's probably going to cook in there for an hour. I burned a little bit in my pan, but you know what, that's okay. It'll just darken my gravy. It's just beef stock, and I didn't really sear it. Okay, so I'm going to take my beef broth, and I'm going to pour that in. It's going to go right in, all this good beef broth here, okay? So as soon as the whole thing's in there, now I'm going to bring this back up to boiling here too, okay? So, and this is recyclable, of course, so you make sure you put this with your bottles and cans. Okay, mine, I keep them on the other side there. I take a cup of hot water. Okay, we're going to go 2 cups because I like to have lots of extra gravy, because I'll take my extra gravy out of this and I'll freeze it. And, well, let's go 3. Okay? And I'll freeze the gravy anyways, and that's where I usually get the gravy for my meatballs and stuff that most people have seen the pictures of on Facebook. So I'm going to take some garlic powder. Again, I put lots of garlic in my stuff, but I mean, with all the other stuff that I have in there, and the flavors and the meat and stuff, so a little bit of seasoning salt and some Italian spice, okay? So now, once again, we're going to take to the Frank's Red Hot Sauce, because, you know, Big Daddy puts that shit on everything. So there you go. So I'm going to put like 6 shakes of lamb's tail in there, like that. And now, got to make sure that we have our onion soup mix, okay? So, of course, I'm covering up the package label name there. And so I need to get in there real quick, so grab a knife out of my cutting board, rip it open, and just dump it right in like that, okay? And I have my whisk is already handy here, so I'm just going to mix this around a little bit with that all in there. And I've got some crushed garlic here, okay? I cut my garlic lots myself, but I'm going to just take a couple of spoonsful. See, I had a couple, another half. Okay, so 2.5 spoonsful of garlic out of that crushed garlic jar that I have. Okay, I keep that in the fridge a lot in case I feel lazy and I don't want to do my garlic up, and I do a lot of garlic up, okay? So I'm not always lazy. Okay, so now I've got that going, and I'm going to come back to my slurry here. And I shake this up real good, just like that, okay? And then I take the lid off, and you start stirring your mixture around, and you dump your gravy, your slurry in top, like this, right into where you're stirring, okay? And just keep it moving. The secret is to keep it moving. Alright? Okay, so now this is going to come to a boil. Okay, and when this comes to a boil, then it'll start to thicken up, especially as soon as I turn it off. Alright? Okay, so my gravy came down pretty fast. My gravy's ready to rock over here. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my frying pan very carefully because it's very heavy, and carefully pour that into the frying pan now. Okay, try and get, of course, as much of that in, or pour it into the crock pot, as much of it as you can get. Okay. So basically what's going to happen now is this sucker's going to stew up real good here over the next couple of hours, and that meat's going to be, you know, fall apart on the fork kind of thing there. Okay, so I just put the lid back on. It's just going to do its own thing. I'll switch this crock pot over to low. Okay, and we're... Okay, so here I am again, and I'm just going to check my stewed pork steaks that I've got going here. I'm going to give the whole situation a little bit of a stir here. That's going to get everything moving around. Oh yeah, that's looking pretty good, hey? Don't you wish you could smell how good it smells in here right now? Oh my goodness, look at that. Well, there you go. That's going to be supper. Wish you were here to enjoy it with me. All right.